This next exercise, we have the bars up fairly high. For resistance, I do have my thicker bands so I can direct some pretty good force, just because I am going to be lifting my hips up and down off the ground. Make sure you have some space behind you that you can lay down and have lots of room. So what we're going to do is when you're laying down flat, you're going to have one foot on the platform and one foot right on the sling here. And you're going to have your knees slightly bent. Now, the reason for the slight bend is because we're really going to try and target all the fibers of the hamstrings. Now, when we lift in the hip bridge, the first thing I want you to think of is, how's that foot sitting? If your foot's twisted in or out, it's actually changing the activation of your hamstring. So line up that foot. Then also watch that you're in neutral spine. So if you're wearing a belt, it's not actually touching the ground. And you're going to feel the glutes start building contraction. Feel the hamstrings as you start pulling down. Once you feel that tension, now you're ready to start lifting using the core, the glutes, and the hamstrings. Keep that tension as you lower and tap the tailbone back down. So I'm not tucking my hips under or changing my pelvis position. You're going to create that tension. You're already going to be, wow. And really a modification. You don't have to lift the hips. You can just hold the core as you pull down and control as you come back up. So that's another little piece of it. And I'll show you also on the other leg, just so you can get kind of a picture. You're going to make sure you do everything on both sides. There are a few different angles we can get to target different parts of the hamstrings and how they insert into the lower leg. So if you turn the leg out slightly and pull down, you're going to notice, oh, hey, I feel those outside hamstrings a little more as I lift the pelvis up and as I tap back down. This tends to be one that really helps after knee injuries as well. And then on the other side, you would turn the leg in at the hip socket. So I'm not crossing my body. I'm just rotating inwards. Watch the ankle still line, pull down. Now you're going to feel inside glutes and inner hamstrings as you lift up and back down. It's quite a powerful hip extender, but it's unbelievable for hamstrings and that space in your knee, especially if you have had those past injuries. The last little part of this, if you're feeling, a little bit kind of spicy that day, you can try both legs down. Same thing. I would start turned out a little bit, pulling down into the band. Hands are gently resting. Use the glutes to lift up as high as you can. And control as you tap the tailbone back down, keeping everything really neutral, get a full extension and keeping that tension. You'll notice as soon as you pull down, you'll feel those kick in. You would repeat the same things with legs straight, come right up and controlling on the way down and also turned in. So you can move those heels out a bit. So you can see how you can isolate each leg to make sure you're not cheating. But when you're doing this one, feel both sides activate. The last little part of this is adding hip rotation. You're going to have your legs pulling down. Squeeze the glutes, lift up as high as you can, and you're going to rotate the hips outwards and then rotate them all the way inwards. So this is called hip extension with hip rotation that can build a ton of power through those hips and hamstrings. I hope that you enjoy that one. Just focus on your technique and notice the difference when you're walking and running especially.